And now that we've made some awesome progress on debugging, let's go back to the commands for our app because there is only one more to fill out. It's the list command, and it's going to be really, really easy. There is nothing complex going on here. In order to get started, all we need to do is fill out the list notes function, which in this case we called getAll. GetAll is responsible for returning every single note. That means it's going to return an array of objects, an array of all of our notes. All we have to do that is return fetch notes. There's no need to filter. There's no need to manipulate the data. We just need to pass the data from fetch notes back through getAll. Now that we have this in place, we can fill out the functionality over inside of app.js. We have to create a variable where we can store the notes. I was going to call it notes, but I probably shouldn't because we already have a notes variable declared. I'm going to create a variable called all notes, setting it equal to the return value from getAll, which, as we know, because we just filled out, returns all the notes. Now I can use console.log to print a little message, console.log, and I'm going to use template strings so I can inject the actual number of notes that are going to be printed. Right here, I'm going to say printing, then the number of notes using the $ and the curly braces, all notes dot length, that's the length of the array, followed by notes with the S in parentheses to handle both singular and plural cases. So if there were 6 notes, it would say printing 6 notes. Now that we have this in place, we have to go about the process of actually printing each note, which means we need to call log note once for every item in the all notes array. To do this, we're going to use for each, which is an array method similar to filter. Filter lets you manipulate the array by returning true or false to keep items or remove items. For each simply calls a callback function once for each item in the array. In this case, we can use it using all notes dot for each, passing in a callback function. Now that callback function is going to be an arrow function in our case, and it's going to get called with the note variable just like filter would have. And all we're going to do is call notes dot log note, passing in the note argument, which is right here. And now that we have this in place, we can actually simplify it, taking the log note call, removing the curly braces, and pasting it right here. This is the exact same functionality, only using the expression syntax. Now that we have our arrow function in place, we are calling notes.logNote once for each item in the all notes array. Let's go ahead and save the app.js file and test this out over in the terminal. In order to test out the list command, all I'm going to do is use node app.js with the command list. There is no need to pass in any arguments. When I run this, I do get printing 3 notes, and then I get my 3 notes: to buy from store, and things to do, which is fantastic. With this in place, all of our commands are now working. We can add notes, we can remove notes, we can read an individual note, and we can list all of the notes stored in our JSON file. With this in place, I also do want to clean up some of these commands up above. We have some console log statements that are printing out a few things we no longer need. At the very top of app.js, I am going to remove the starting app.js console log statement, making the constant fs the first line. I'm also going to remove the 2 statements right here that print the command and the yargs variable value. I'm also, inside of notes.js, going to remove the console log statement at the very top of that file since it's no longer necessary. It was definitely useful when we first started exploring different files, but now we have everything in place and there's no need. If I rerun the list command, this time you can see it looks a lot cleaner. Printing 3 notes is the very first line showing up. With this in place, we are done our commands, but there is still one thing I want to do. In the next video, we're going to take a slightly more in-depth look at how we can configure yargs. This is going to let us require certain arguments for our commands. So if someone tries to add a note without a title, we can warn the user and prevent the program from executing. I'll see you next time.